So the big question is this: how are those in the self-storage industry like us going to be successful in today's market? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jim Ross, and welcome to the Self-Storage Show.
Hey everyone. Hey, before we get started, I invite you to go to 3milestorage.com. That's the number 3milestorage.com. When you go to that website, you'll find my new book is available. Unlock the Power of Remote Management for Your Self-Storage Business is available. There is a free ebook version and also a link that will bring you to the physical version that you can order. So again, enjoy and go to 3milestorage.com. Hi everyone, this is Jim Ross from the Self-Storage Show. Today we're recording another episode that we record live in front of our little virtual audience here, part of our Meetup Mondays. Today's guest, I got Damon Emerson here with Storage Shield. How's it going, Damon?
It's going well. How are you?
Good.
It's good talking to you.
I was gonna say, you always raise your hand when I'm looking for something to come on. You've done it 4 or 5 times, something like that in the past.
Yeah, I love it. I love being able to share knowledge and spread knowledge and learn. So this is always a fun time talking with you.
Oh, good. It's laid back. That's how we go. So it's just chill time. But we were talking last week about some other topics, and I know everyone's talking about the recession and what's going to happen and kind of financial uncertainty kind of a thing. So I figured have you come on. And what was our official title here? I'll tell you. We're gonna do.
We had a couple.
I know what I'll do. All right, we landed on unlocking hidden revenue, harnessing the power of tenant protection and insurance in times of financial uncertainty. Sounds good, right?
Yeah. So I actually like yours a little better than mine. It's just better flow. But I had found I was talking to someone a few weeks ago, and you're looking at all the national shows and the state events that are coming across, and you're finding the same speakers, and you're finding the same mentality of, hey, we're going to talk to you about things from an operations or a marketing standpoint. And they're all very knowledgeable. They're very, very well laid out, but no one is actually, people want to put this insurance and protection product in this small little bubble. And maybe it's only an educational piece, but maybe it's only something you talk about a little bit. When the push comes to shove, these are the products that when you are in financial concerns are the products that are able to not only make sure that you're being taken care of from a claim, standpoint with your tenants and making them happy while they're going through the same concerns, but from an owner operator standpoint, it's one of the true products that you can actually make revenue the right way if done the right way. And I don't understand why no one really wants to talk about it more. I am making my effort over the last year and a half to put myself out in front of everybody because I feel it's important. I feel it's important that people need to know what they're getting into instead of just having the same talking pieces at these events. And, and I think you need people in the industry that they're in to be talking about it, not an operations person who has had success offering it, but they're only having success because of the product and the company they're working with because they listen to them. So I don't know. I thought this was a good talking piece.
No, well, it is. It makes sense. So I want to have you on here because, I know you've kind of. Well, let's just start off real quick. I mean, we should have started this at the very beginning, but give me a 2-minute little summary real quick of you and kind of how you got into storage and what led you where you're at right now. Because
I'm a 15-year vet now. I'm a 15-year. I guess I'm an aged veteran, as my dad would have called me. But 15 years in the industry, I started with a REIT, helped create a marketing program, went on to help build the #1 tenant insurance program in the industry until we were bought by Storable. And then at that point, I was with them 2 years, left, spent 6 months for a company that will never go named. And then in fall of 2021, ended up becoming a partner for Storage Shield with my partner, John Manus. And my goal has been to just teach people, after doing insurance forever, to teach people a better way of doing protection and really just trying to be as transparent as possible to teach people that these concerns people have with protection are really non-concerns when you take a step back and realize what can be done. It's not always about putting the onus of the claim onto an owner operator. So that's what I do. I teach people how to do protection while expecting service, making revenue, and having their tenants taken care of, all without having to put themselves in the middle of the spotlight. I hope that was a nice, quick 2-minute.
There you go. I had you timed. Okay, perfect. No, you're good. That's always hard. All right, summarize 20 years in like 30 seconds. This is, yeah. I'm used to it. So, I mean, let's just kind of jump right into it here. So when it comes to, well, first off, revenue, because I'm sure that's the one word that, especially owners that are listening or watching to this, that's probably the first thing they're zeroing in on is like, ooh, I can make money. So, yeah, kind of go into that real quick.
So the thing with tenant protection or insurance, and I've dealt with it on both sides, everyone, well, typically if someone comes at you and says, hey, how much am I going to make? Typically you have to stop them just cold, and either you realize quickly, okay, this is not the conversation or a company that we're probably going to partner with, because they're putting the cart before the horse. Anytime you look at these, it should not solely be about revenue and revenue only. You have to do certain bits and pieces to complete the puzzle, right? Or then you have the people you just have to stop and say, well, I'll tell you what, revenue is a part of it. Like, I don't preach revenue. Revenue is the end of the story. Revenue is the byproduct to everything that gets done. And if you're going to do a tenant protection or tenant insurance program, you have to make sure you're dealing with a company that offers certain things. What I found in the history, I guess the atmosphere of the industry right now is it's become a little dog eat dog. On the insurance side especially, you have companies that are all over the place that are just trying to outpace the other company, and everyone is gunning for one company, right? And they're just trying to stay ahead of the game. But if a company comes to you and they say that they're going to promise you training and they're going to promise you support and they're going to do all these things and make sure that they're monitoring your regulations and doing things the right way, as owners and operators, you have to hold them accountable to what they're telling you. And what's happening is you have companies that are making grand promises while pushing, whether it be regulations on insurance or on protection side, just pushing, you have to make it mandatory and you have to be the face and all these different things. And they're not sitting back to answer questions, because most owners and operators don't know what questions to ask. So you're allowing yourself to be put into a situation where, you might be in an agreement that you don't realize is a long-term agreement. You're not getting the service. You're not getting things that are promised. But, hey, you're getting just a little bit more money than that other guy. And what do you do when you want to get out? And you realize this is not a fun situation. I'm not happy. Well, you're stuck, right? So for me, having these conversations, being able to have the discussion of how are you going to be able to make revenue? Well, the only way you're going to be able to make revenue is you have to take a step back. And there's a path that we have to follow. And that goes from when you initially get signed up, you sign the agreement. Is the company going out of their way to make sure that your underwriting forms are signed? Are they handling the onboarding? Are they taking all these minute little steps that become bigger steps? Are they taking those off your shoulders? Most companies are not doing that. They're just, hey, I'm going to email you some forms, fill them out and get them back. I will email a couple forms, but I want to talk to you. I need to know that you understand what's being filled out, and I have a time frame in my head, and I want to make sure that that time frame is the same time frame that you have. And these are the conversations that most people, they're just kind of put out on an island. Once you agree, it's not uncommon in insurance, especially, to not hear from your sales director for 30 days, because they're processing, if they're going to email, they're expecting you to fill it out. If you don't fill it out right away, well, are they getting back to you? Well, not always, right? And then it comes to licensing on insurance, which can be a nightmare, because depending on what state, you could have a 3.5, 4, 5 month wait, or you could have a 2-week wait. You don't know, right? Well, with tenant protection, it makes it an easier transition, which is great. I have enjoyed and loved that, because I don't have to deal with the licensing, but I come at things a little different because I know what goes into the licensing. So I'm able to prepare an owner operator, logistically and legally the right way, as if it was insurance. You know what I mean? So it's really about getting things started from the get-go, making sure that the company, and asking the right questions. If I tell you that, hey, I'm going to send you an agreement, okay, when are we doing the next? What is everything that I need to have filled out? And then as a company, you need the company to then make sure they walk you through that path to get it finalized.
No, that's why I like talking to you, because again, you've done both sides.
Yeah.
Insurance and property protection, you can talk in layman's terms exactly what to expect. I think our word we always talk about is transparency. That kind of seems to be the common thread through everything we've talked about.
It is, and I know people hate hearing it from me because it's become my talking point above talking points, but nobody can ever say about me that I wasn't transparent in what I've done. And I think that is so incredibly important, especially because people don't know what they're getting into. I have people that are with programs now that are unhappy in their programs, but they're stuck because they just didn't know things, right? And I wish I could have talked to them a few months ago because I would have led them down a different path. But as long as it doesn't matter when you get knowledge, as long as you get it, right? When you get the knowledge, what are you going to do with it? And my hope is that somewhere along the line, if I can help you get it, or if I'm part of the conversation, then I can be an ear or a voice for you when the time comes. And that's with insurance and protection, because it has become I've said in the past, it's the Wild West. And what you get and how you get it is not the same as it was a year and a half ago. It is a completely different world. I mean, it's the things you have to be careful. The things that are being said and done is frustrating, but transparency is what will always win the day.
Well, that's why you're here. Because again, with this, we have a small group right now that's on here we'll do Q&As after we're done. But the idea is this kind of content will live out there, so people will find it, search it, and reach out and get more information that way. So let's just say, okay, because a lot of people, owners, let's just say it's a clean slate. They've been in business for a while. They've never done any kind of protection for their customers. They just never really thought about it as a revenue stream until maybe recently. It's kind of come up. So kind of say I'm that owner right now, just reaching out and just kind of a blank slate going, I'm interested in something like this. Why do I need it? I mean, bare bones, it's simple. Why?
We put all this money into building our facilities or buying a facility, right? It's one of the two. You're either building or you're buying. I mean, I guess you're investing as well, but the core, right? So any of the three, when you're going to get into your facility, you're looking at all the right numbers. What's the rent roll? What are my expenses? What have I put in? What am I bringing in a month? What am I outlaying a month? And then there's these little products. The nice thing about insurance or protection is there's typically no cost. And what I mean by cost is if you're building huge down money, you got to put out a quarterly, different times. If you're marketing, outlays of money, right? If you're doing a website, if you're doing locks, security, all these things, there's a huge cost to it, right? Well, when it comes to doing tenant protection or insurance, there isn't. There are small costs in insurance. It's the cost of getting a limited license. The insurance industry will push the heck out of you're doing things wrong if you're not licensed. Well, we now know that that's not true, but there's a comfort level. And if you're not comfortable with not being backed by the state or the Department of Insurance, then there's a strong need for insurance. I get that. But there's a small cost there. That can be minimal. It's every 2 years, typically $40, $50 to $300, $400, $500. It depends on the state. You can think and imagine which states probably cost the most just by the kind of states that they are. With tenant protection, typically it's okay. Do we have startup fees? Do we have admins? Do we have, I put in place for some scenarios a small monthly, and it was for the person. People need to understand when they're doing insurance programs, it's not passive. You don't get into an insurance or protection program thinking, hey, I'm just going to offer it to whomever. Because if you're going to do that, then don't do one because it helps nobody. The reason you do a program like this is, listen, I've invested all this money. I have done things in my lease to protect my tenants. I want to be able to make sure that no major catastrophes or even just small claims, issues, theft, fire, water, rodent, these things happen that are going to come back on me that now, after putting all these fail safes and protections into my facility and me and my manager, I am now outlaying money to pay for rent and to pay for claims and to go to court. What can I do to get rid of that? Well, it's these types of programs. Because if done right, you have a transfer of risk process where if someone has a claim, they can now have a company, i.e. my company, for instance, we're a transfer of risk type program where we could actually cover that loss in a timely manner, making sure the owner, operator, manager are not put in the middle of it and be able to see their tenants be made whole. The byproduct of that is there is a financial benefit to the owner. But that's not the reason why. It's you need to make sure that your tenants are being taken care of. So if you're new, the goal is I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to the company that I've decided to work with and follow them because they know what they're doing. And the goal is if you have, let's say, a 250 unit facility, you're going to have 140 to 170 of your tenants are going to have some type of coverage that's going to protect them if anything goes wrong. And when that happens, all of a sudden you start seeing a monthly and an annual, a bit of revenue, if done right, that will build up. And then if you do it at a 7% cap, right, all of a sudden you've seen this small piece of revenue that was nothing before you started, wasn't even a thought. And now all of a sudden it is something that adds to your bottom line. If you ever want to get a bank loan, or if you it's extra revenue. Again, in the time that we are coming into, last year, everybody's like, we're in the recession. It's hitting. Then it was, well, the recession probably is going to be over by summer. Oh, wait, no. Looks like the recession's going to be back. It's here till 24. Well, these are the products that you're going to have that will continue to build up, that will not only add revenue to your facility, but why this is so important is it's protecting the revenue or the belongings of what your tenants have, right? Yep. So there's a double whammy of positivity. Right, owner operator is able to make something. I'm not putting a lot of money out, and I can ensure that my tenants, at the end of the day, that I've told them I value, are being valued by making sure that their belongings are covered and they're being made whole. So that's what I will try to tell most new people, and then you just go into service. It's interesting if I talk to someone just before I got on this call. I know I'm taking up. We said 20 minutes. I don't know what you were thinking. Just before this call. The guy goes, I've talked to 6 companies. He goes, you're the only person that's taken the time to explain anything. That makes me mad because that is the worst thing you could have anybody say about you. And I don't know who the other companies are. And I'm glad I don't, because at some point, I would probably tell a story about one of them, or I would come up to them. But that is atrocious. That should never be the case. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a path that people need to know that they're going to follow to get to the end result.
And that's why, again, we'll go back to, that's why you're having you on here. Because again, you will take the time to educate and tell people what they don't know.
I do apologize. I get on soapboxes and I am so sorry. I don't mean to. I just start going.
No, we got a couple of minutes here. I mean, again, that's the kind of the bottom line with everything. And again, that's why I wanted to have you on, is getting that mentality. When I'm speaking with owners, and we're kind of going over their property, and this comes up, this subject. It's like, yes, the revenue you get, it's a sweet bonus. I mean, it is, but you have to look at it like a bonus money. It's You're providing a service, you're providing a valuable product to your customers. You're helping them out first. Yes. Make your customers. Yeah. So
what's happening that is a bit maddening. And I don't know, there's a couple things that are just going wrong that I'm finding. And I think I texted this to you. I don't get it, and I don't understand the mindset, but you have people that are getting put in situations with these long-term agreements. And here's what I will tell anybody. A lot of it is current business, right? Hey, I've been with this company 4 or 5 years. I've asked for a little bit more revenue. It's an honest question to ask, and I agree with it. And if you can, you can. Insurance, that has always worked off. We got to be careful with our admin fees because of regulations and everything. Yeah. Suddenly loosen the reins a little bit. That's a conversation for another day. What I will tell most people to be careful of, if any company ever tells you, hey, we'll give you, let's say, a higher, and they'll call it admin, rev share, whatever. We'll give you a higher amount, but you need to sign a 2 or 3 or 4 year agreement. I would tell them not a chance. And they'll say, well, then we can't really give you more. Here's why. I talk to companies, and I've heard rumors of other companies where there's been situations, and I've seen a couple where, let's say you do get frustrated and you're in a situation that you don't want to be with the company any longer. What do? Well, if you've locked into a long-term agreement, because that's what you've done, you've locked yourself into a long-term agreement and tried to get out, you are going to owe whatever is owed for the rest of that agreement. And those companies will lock you into it. So now you're no longer with a company you're with a company you like. You don't want to be with them. You can't stand them. You don't think they're a good company, and you have a choice of paying some outrageous fee or staying with them and hoping that things change when you've already called, not had claims covered. You've called to find out who your sales director is, don't know who they are. You've asked for training. We're told that they're not in training mode right now because they're only working on new business, all these different things. So make sure when people are doing this, that is as much of a fault during these times as anything else. People always think, well, if I get a long-term agreement, I'm locked in. Well, no, that same amount will be there at 12 months or 3 years. It doesn't matter. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourself. That's a big key I wanted to share.
No, again, that's one of the pitfalls that, know what you don't know kind of thing, that you can have these kind of conversations with people.
Yeah.
And we're wrapping up here time-wise. Sam, I see your question about what's the difference between insurance and protection. Again, here's a little advice. Again, if you can join us here live on these Meetup Mondays, great. You can actually get these kind of questions answered in real time, because after we're done with this, we're going to jump on a table and continue the conversation.
Sam, if you want, Sam, I can answer it now. Or Sam, if you want, come over to the round table.
Yep, we're going to go on the table here.
All right, and then I'll go over any questions anybody has on either. I mean, I've successfully in both. So.
Yep, perfect. And we are going to do a segment, I think, here in the near future. We're going to have representatives from both companies getting on and just
very excited.
Not saying duking it out, but just laying it out.
Duking it out.
We could have it. We'll get the gloves on. We'll do something. It could be kind of fun to be able to promote that. But we're going to have representatives from both sides talking about that, and just to get it out there and being, like I said, go back to transparent words. So that's what we're going to do here in the near future. But let's wrap this up here, Damon, if you don't mind. Let's just wrap it up with people are watching and listening, want to reach out to you, get more information. How do they get in contact with you?
My cell phone is 717-870-9572. My email is damon@storage-shield, spelled SHIELD.com. Or you can go to our website, www.storage-shield.com. Guys, I make myself readily available. If I can help anybody, I will. If you have questions, I'll answer. If I can introduce you to somebody, I will as well. So I try to make myself as readily available as possible.
Oh, perfect. And you are when I call you and say you want to jump on in 24-hour notice, and you're here. So
that's right.
All right. Thanks so much, Damon. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.